These are the pre-budget suggestions of the Christian Solidarity Party. It is clear from the recent comments of An Taoiseach that the government is planning for mass unemployment, mass welfare cuts, mass health and education cuts, as well as cuts wherever else they can be found, whilst on the other hand raising taxes wherever possible. There is a clear pattern of transferring the nation's wealth from the productive working classes to investors. The CSP suggests another path to fiscal stability. Rather than cut spending on the needy or taxing the spending power of the least well-off, we need to reduce the need for spending and raise proportionally more taxes from those sectors whose reduction in spending power will do least damage to society and the overall economy. Tax on non-productive residential homes, that is, a residential home where there is neither an owner nor a tenant in residence, will raise revenue and further deflate house prices and bring more property onto the rental market, bringing down the cost of renting, thus easing pressure on local authority housing lists, rent allowance schemes, and the rental accommodation scheme. This removes a requirement for social spending and thus eases pressure on the public purse. Tax individualization. When tax individualization was introduced, it was with the intention of bullying mothers into the workplace to feed our booming tiger economy. This policy was unjust then, and is illogical now. The notion that many homes should have no earned income at all in order to force those who would be homemakers reluctantly into holding down a second household income is perverse. We need to ensure that as many homes as possible have an earned income, rather than unnecessarily having many homes dependent on the public purse. Increasing the numbers of homemakers and protecting earned household income will result in huge social welfare savings, protect the income of those in need of social welfare, reduce the pressure of commuting children on our transport infrastructure, and result in increased levels of unpaid labour in the voluntary sector. It just makes sense. There is a constitutional right to earn a living. There is no absolute right to state-supported inactivity. The danger of long-term unemployment is that those out of work will not have the necessary discipline to do a job should one become available to them. The perception that long-term unemployment results in unemployability will result in those who are keen and able to work being denied opportunities which should come their way. The state should provide opportunities for social welfare recipients to undertake work at union rates to the benefit of society. In many cases, this will mean as little as half a day's work, depending on the welfare received and the union rate for the job. The advantage to the individual is that they will be able to present up-to-date references to prospective employers, take up opportunities for part-time and casual employment without necessarily losing their benefits, as well as the dignity of earning their keep and benefiting society. When the upturn comes, they will be far better positioned to take advantage of the opportunities for work that arise. There is public expenditure which is essential to the poorest in society. This expenditure should not be cut to the extent that service is affected. There is lots more expenditure, however, which is questionable at the best of times. No public servant, including politicians, on more than 5 times the salary of the lowest paid full-time public servant. In the meantime, return all grades to the same percentage of the salary of the lowest paid grade that they enjoyed in 1980. We should not renew politically motivated grants for organisations such as the Outhouse, the CPA, Bernardo's, the IFPA, etc. Staff in these organisations are to be given the option of transferring to the public service at the grade nearest, without going above their current salary and responsibility. Most of us employ the services of people whose income is greater than ours. There is no good reason to pay politicians multiples of the medial household income. Few of those we want in politics would fail to enter public life if their pay was closer to that of their constituents. However, the ridiculously high rates of pay available today may well be attracting the wrong kind of candidate to public life. There should be no public funding of organisations or programmes, whether in Ireland or abroad, which support abortion, sterilisation, eugenics or euthanasia. TDs and senators are legislators. That is the position they have been elected to. The generous funding made available by the taxpayer for constituency offices and staff amounts to long-term public funding of their re-election campaigns. This is a dangerous skewing of the electoral process, which places previously unelected opponents of established politicians in an unfair disadvantage, as their tax contributions are used to promote and re-elect the establishment. The constituency offices and staff of TDs and senators should be funded entirely from the resources of the politicians involved. Where this is not possible, the current staff to be given the option of transferring to the public service at the grade nearest without going above their current salary and responsibility. We should have no foreign military adventures, including the UN, until the public finances permit it. Large landholdings that cannot show sufficient support of employment should face taxation in order to incentivize land sales to new farmers. All commercial natural resources being exploited should be taxed. This removes many of the grounds of the Shell to Sea campaign, which has resulted in a huge Garda overtime bill. The Exchequer will benefit through revenue raised and the Garda bill being reduced. More policing of the behaviour of Shell and associates could well produce added revenue from fines for well-documented, unlicensed and legally unpermitted activities. Re-examination of the complaints of locals against the proximity to their homes of pipes of unprocessed gas and the use of their land for the laying of Shell infrastructure. The CSP finds the riding roughshod over ordinary people not only unjust, but unnecessary to bring gas to the Irish market. Giving away our natural resources with no benefit to the nation is worse than senseless. It is unpatriotic and gives rise to suspicions of corruption.